You may know my guest today when she was a child TV star on the new Disney Mickey Mouse Club. She's here with us today and she's going to talk about her latest project called Unbreakable. Welcome to Bridges. I'm Monica Schmelter. I'm really glad that you could join us today. My guest today is Jennifer McGill, and we're going to catch up with her and hear about her latest project, Unbreakable. And Jennifer, I'm glad to have you back on Bridges.
Thank you so much. I love seeing you.
Well, I love seeing you too. And so I want us to catch up. I want to hear all about this project.
Oh, yes.
And I know that you're going to be an author pretty soon, I understand.
Yes, I'm in the final stages. I'm so excited. First time, never saw that coming.
So you have been busy, busy, busy.
Yes.
And this project is really a dream for you. Tell me about that.
My first dream ever was to be a recording artist. And I did look up to some of the pop divas that I still just so love their voices. And I did want to follow in their footsteps and really present inspirational music and pop music for that matter. And so this project, fast forward all these years, it really bundles together all of my loves. I mean, it's a Christ-centered project, but it's pop inspirational. We have worship music on this project, but all of the original songs are co-written by me, autobiographical, about my faith journey. So it really checked all the boxes of my dream of becoming a recording artist with music that I really love and that I believe in.
Yeah, and so it really is a dream project, and it is called Unbreakable, and we're gonna play some of the videos, as we do this program. But as you said, the songs are I can't say the word, say it for me.
Autobiographical.
But it's kind of a dream journey, like when we kind of plan out our lives, not that we mean to in our faith journey, but this project came much later than what you were thinking. Let's talk about that time lapse and what was going on.
You know, I used to say that I was the poster child for broken dreams, but you would never know it looking at my face because I was trained from a very young age as a Mouseketeer to present excellence, professionalism, and the big Mouseketeer smile. And so when behind the scenes, my life started taking different turns that I hadn't planned for in my dream journey of faith, I did start feeling a lot more weathered. I felt like by the time some of my co-Mouseketeers started rising in their own fame as recording artists and actors like Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, I wanted to be where they were.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was comparing myself to their journey and that I just wasn't up to the standard. And I thought, what's wrong with me? Why can't I have my dream realized as well? And so behind the scenes, behind the smile, I started feeling very cheated and very disqualified from any of that dream from my childhood ever becoming realized.
Because, you know, when you say those names, like Justin Timberlake, and that you worked alongside of them on the Mickey Mouse Club, and so, of course, one would think, because how many years were you on that show?
I was there the whole time, so from the pilot all the way through season 7. So my whole puberty was basically, it was like seven years, basically, was my contract, and I worked pretty much the whole contract, and then went off to college. You know, that was what I felt like was my next step, because I felt like I was a more well-rounded person because of my groundedness at home, because of my pursuit of education. I didn't go to LA. Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, those particular kids came on the last 2 seasons, and then a lot of them continued. They were a bit younger than me. They continued on to LA and New York to pursue their careers, and I did take a pit stop. But I don't regret that.
Right.
When it's all said and done, I love my education. I would not be the same person I am today in my artistry if I had not taken that time for myself.
Yeah. And I think so many times, Jennifer, we look at our course or our life, and yours is different, having been a child star, but I would think, my goodness, it had to be hard to kind of be growing up on camera, people watching you on TV.
I think about how old the stage managers were. They were younger than I am now, and to think about trying to wrangle 13 kids under the age of 13, just in general, you know. And then we get older, we get stronger and smarter. We start driving golf carts, and you know, there's no cell phone, there's no GPS. So if we get lost in the parks, you know, I can't imagine the stress. of trying to guide these children on this show. And so then when I come back to, well, what did I feel about all of it? You know, you are asked to be a kid on camera, but then to act professionally in every other aspect of the job, and it can be confusing if you're supposed to be just a big goober on camera, but know your lines, know your cue, know when you're supposed to show up, know your itinerary, and then play up for the camera.
Right.
So
because,
it is hard.
When you watch it, it looks like just a whole lot of fun.
It is.
Like for the viewer, we're not really aware that you had to practice all of that over and over again. We're not really thinking about the stage managers or whatever they're called, or all these kids as kids.
Right.
Like having birthday parties at home and thinking about all that. You know, it's like you're acting like a kid, but you're having to be professional at the same time. But yet, I would imagine even at that young age, or you wouldn't have been on the show, that you wanted to sing.
Yes.
You wanted to dance. This was like the dream of your life.
Yes, I do refer to me signing that contract as the, you know, Willy Wonka, sign away, Charlie, you got nothing to lose. For our family, that's really what it was all about. I had never had a professional job, any kind of singing, dancing, acting.
Well, you were a kid.
I was, but you know, they start so young these days.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're 11, that's not unheard of to go have some big contract. And
11.
at the time, I know.
Yeah.
I was 10 when I actually got found.
10?
Got discovered. I was 10.
Good grief.
Yes, I was 10. And so when we started into heavy production is around the time I was turning 11 and when the show aired. And I was in love with singing and dancing and acting. And it's like I had found a mecca of kids who did the same stuff that I did in their own way. And I ate up all of the work that I had to do. For some kids, it was harder to organize their life on that show and to be the talents that they were hired to be. It's very straining, and we did have a therapist some years. I mean, yeah.
Well,
and,
I can imagine, of course.
yeah, and I actually did sit in that room and go, what's the problem? Because I was happy. I was just a happy little kid, like doing my job. Why are we here? What's going on? Yeah. So, yeah, my stress came later. When I started growing up and getting hips and figuring out like what I'm supposed to look like and when I'm supposed to smile and judging myself all the time and comparing myself to the other girls, around 14 was when, I started getting stressed out.
And you know, Jennifer, most of us do that at that age. I mean, you were doing it on camera, and you were famous and around famous people, so I guess that just heightens everything.
Yes.
Were you a Christian at that time?
I was. I have always been in the church. And I do remember asking Jesus into my heart when I was about 8 years old. But I reflect on that time now, and a little bit in the book coming out, I reflect on that time as sort of a sleeping time, that I just couldn't figure out this intimate relationship part. I couldn't find the pixie dust that I loved so much in sort of the fantasy movies I loved to watch, and the storybooks I loved to read. I didn't see any of that magic yet in my life. I couldn't connect. And so I was very well educated, and I was well prayed up in general, and I did go to church every Sunday, and I sang in all the musicals, but there was something missing.
Yeah, and you were just a kid.
Yes.
I mean, we expect so much of everybody. I mean, you were a kid, you're trying to figure all of that out, and then you get discovered at 10, and so, you know, that's what you always wanted, to sing and to dance and to do that thing, and then yet, from all of that child star experiences, you elect not to go to LA, instead you go to college. And now how many years is it later that you're doing Unbreakable?
Oh, it's at least 20 years.
At least 20 years.
Yes. I mean, you know, you start college, I don't know, 17, 18, I guess, yeah. Yes, and right when I graduated from NYU, I actually did have a record deal in the works. And I think that's the beginning of my adult brokenness. I think that's when that fell through and the bubblegum pop music movement happened in the industry, and kids like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, who were shaped differently, looked differently than I did, they moved differently, I somehow could not play the game. I could not get through the gate. And I did feel disqualified. I felt judged, and then I started judging myself. Most of my brokenness did come from my own opinions that I had formed from the world's view of what was cool or not, what deserved to be famous and what did not deserve to be famous. And so that was a long 20 years of feeling broken and feeling not worthy and feeling left behind. And then coming around, you know, to about 10 years ago, when I did find my my adulting with God. I understand, you know, as a full human being, you know, how to have that intimate relationship. It was a huge moment for me, and that's really when I feel like I was rededicated to Christ, and I started living a full life with Him. And then 10 years later, you know, as I was rehabilitated and restored, you know, it took all that time to really have the message that's now in this album. And when I look back on it, I wouldn't have wanted to do it differently, because I wouldn't have been the type of artist that I am now, you know, with the weight and the wisdom in those words and in those notes, if I had tried to do this at 17.
Well, you know, and you have to really, like, if we're honest, at 17, we're 17.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a different perspective.
It's a hugely different perspective. So what you're saying is that now, in retrospect, you can look back and you can see that God was weaving in who you were and what He wanted from you. So let's talk about, because the first video that we're going to see is Unbreakable. Let's talk about that, and I know that you've co-written all these songs, so help us to understand who you are now and what's in that particular song.
Well, a lot of the theme over the development of the album Unbreakable is this idea of being a fighter, being, for me, a warrior princess, a freedom fighter, and defining biblically what all of that means. And then musically, artistically defining that. So Unbreakable, this single, this video, it's all about not just surviving, but thriving in the harshest of situations that life can throw you. And when I was starting to co-write this song with John Chisholm, my vision was there's a warrior that's gone through a battle, and you wake up on the battlefield, you dust yourself off, and you just assess, all right, well, what has happened?
Right.
Who's still with me? And so there's this underlying foundation that I wrote into the song that is, I'm with God, God is with me, Jesus is right there, never leaves me alone in battle. But also the power of us. It's the body of Christ, it's the extension of Christ's love, and that is never a lone wolf type of situation on your spiritual battlefield.
Exactly. So we're going to take a break. We're going to let you take a look at the video, the song Unbreakable, and when we come back, I'll talk more with Jennifer McGill.
Nothing can separate us. Nothing can come between us now. Nothing can take away, break away the power of love. Unbreakable, unbreakable. I see you. The dust settles on the ground. I hear you. The walls are falling down. We're still standing, arm in arm in heaven bound. Unbreakable, unbreakable. I'm with you through the battle and the blood. You're with me through the fire and the flood. We're still standing, I so love. Unbreakable, unbreakable. No
You can purchase a copy of today's show for $15. Call us at 615-754-0039 or send a check to the address on the screen. Please mention the program number on the screen.
When I truly turned my heart to the Lord, He took every sin I ever did away from me.
God really is your other half. God, He's the only person who can really, fill those holes and cracks in your heart that you're so wanting someone to fill.
It's no good to have a big dream if you're not putting yourself in motion to go after that.
If you are just joining us today on Bridges, my guest is Jennifer McGill. We're talking about her latest project, Unbreakable. And so Jennifer, we just saw the video. Where were you at when you did that, and what was that like for you?
We were in Nevada. Our director had found this really cool formulated plane crash site, and he felt that was really, really descriptive of a survivor. And so that's where it started. And we were just running all around the rocks and the desert. And the coolest thing for me about that shoot was we found this wide expanse of white sand. And as we were filming, a sandstorm came through. You can see in the video the tornadoes, the sand tornadoes running all through, and then it actually ran through the chute. So all the wind you see in this video is natural. It is God's breath on this project. So it was really, really cool. And on a personal note, the last place I would hang out, especially like in a jacket, is the desert.
Yeah.
I would need an umbrella and a spritzer. I don't know. Like I would need some help. And so personally, this was a survivor mode type of attack on the filming of this video. I really had to stay strong and weather through the elements and bring the energy and the heart behind this song to life visually to do my part. So yeah, it was work.
You think about as somebody watching the video like us, it's however many minutes and it's all done, and we don't realize that hours and hours and days went into that. What is that like for you as an artist?
Well, the shoot itself, the capture time for the shoot day was actually 14 hours.
14 hours.
Yes, and I was actually battling allergies, like odd Nevada allergies, right? So I'm all
puffy. With the jacket in the desert.
Yes, I mean, it was really, I had to be unbreakable. I had to believe it every moment. But something happens as an artist when you get in front of the camera and you hear the song and you know the purpose in the message, and you just do it. You just rise to the occasion, and it is something that stems from my childhood on the Disney Channel.
Absolutely.
And what they ingrained in me and what I picked up so well. I mean, I believe that mentality of artistry. So I guess I'm not surprised looking back that I made it. Yeah, but that was just that one day. I mean, there was planning, location planning. I mean, the director put a lot into it, all of the equipment that you have to get together. I was the wardrobe mistress, so I had to put my outfits together. But, we had a makeup artist, someone who was wrangling all the hair and all the eyelashes or what, whatever the sand was just catching in, she had to organize and get it right again.
You work so hard to make that happen, and then a sandstorm coming through. But isn't that so much like life? We work so hard to do something, and then there's a storm that comes through, and we've got to weather it.
Right. I believe that we can have a plan, but when God blows through with His plan, it's going to turn out better. It's not that our work is fruitless.
No.
But when He blows through something, let Him blow through it and let Him change it. And that's what happened with the video Unbreakable.
Yeah, and I think that's part of having that pliable heart toward the Lord and understanding God's purpose and believing that that's better than what we think our plans and purposes are. Tell me a little bit about purpose.
For most of my life, I did not have a pliable heart because I was so headstrong about what my dreams were supposed to look like in reality. I did feel very negative about myself and through that perspective about most of the world for much of the time. And I thought that I had been sort of stripped of my purpose. I thought, wow, I got this talent, or I got this this opportunity, and now I guess it's just down the toilet. I guess that was, oops, God made a mistake with me? You know, I had a lot of questions and doubt. And now I believe that you're never past your prime of purpose.
That's right.
A lot of women feel that if you don't check all these boxes, if you're not married by this certain point, if you don't have the promotion or the kids or whatever that status is that the world says you need, you're just past your prime. And we tend to believe what the world says.
We do.
And it's a lie. As long as you have breath in your lungs, you have God's purpose
That's
in your
right.
life. And it's just tapping into Him, keeping that intimate relationship daily moving forward and finding out what that is, you know, day to day. And that's what happened with me. I mean, that's how much I believe in purpose. And I believe this album, I believe the upcoming book, and even just, you know, my personal life, you know, I am married, and I'm not just married to somebody, I finally found somebody. It's I'm married to my best friend. Yeah. I'm married to someone that God spoke to me about ahead of time. I feel like I am living a life of purpose in all the levels of my life because I'm tapped in. And that in itself is satisfying. And the dreams will come. All of the fruition, all of the restoration, it will happen. But this life is a marathon, not a race.
Yeah, and I believe everything that you've said is for all of us.
Yes.
You know, even if we're not an artist and it's
Right.
not the project Unbreakable, it can be that, you know, your dream was to be an accountant or that you wanted to be married. And I think that you're so right. People, like, you get to a certain age, when are you going to get married? Then you get married. When are you having kids? Well, how many kids are you going to have? And a lot of pressure to do all of these things. And sometimes those things can rob us of what we think our purpose is, can rob us of a relationship, a close relationship with God because we're mad at Him, because we're angry, because it didn't work out like we think we should. And as I understand it, that's kind of like what this whole project is about and the song. So let's talk about some of the other songs on it.
Well, I would say that for a long time, like you were saying, I did get robbed of a relationship with God in my teens, when I would look in the mirror and I would see all the worst things or all the flaws, all the things I saw to be bad. And I really just skipped over a lot of the good stuff because I just didn't have a great self-esteem. I started comparing myself to these other girls, and I understand now that I was made in a very unique way, and that's awesome. Now I embrace it. But at the time, uniqueness was not necessarily the way to go. And I was, you know, kind of a bookworm, and I was this tall, blonde girl. I was kind of a light bulb, you know, very bright on camera, and there was something else that a lot of the kids deemed was a cooler look out there, you know, that I could not provide. And so I would see myself in the mirror and go, oh, you're just not right for this at all. You're just never gonna be cool. He doesn't like you because. You can't keep someone interested because, you know, it started to become about that male attention. And I wrote a song called Look in the Mirror. And it's about the idea that whoever you are, Carrie Russell was also on our show. Carrie Russell was sort of the Barbie doll. Like I really loved everything about her look, and I was completely the opposite of everything about her look or whatever. You know, she's a beautiful woman, beautiful girl back in the day too. And you know, when you look in the mirror, even Carrie would have something to say about herself back in the day. She would want to nitpick at something. And Look in the Mirror, the song, is about not only I am there always. God is there. You know, the good voice in your head is always there if you just look for it.
Amen.
But nobody is exempt from picking themselves apart.
You know, that's really true. I think, Jennifer, that we all believe that lie. You know we do. We all believe that lie, that if we just looked like so-and-so, if we just had what they had, if we had those opportunities, and I think especially as women, we tend to buy that lie and really embrace it and like hang out with it and think about it. Well, I don't measure up in this way, I don't measure up in that way. And I know now I look at my life and I think all the fun that I missed, because I was believing lies. Even though I loved Jesus, I was still believing lies.
Yes.
And it's crazy.
It is. We do drive ourselves crazy. It all starts in our mind.
Yeah.
I really don't feel like we are born believing, feeling like we are just not good. I think that I remember when I was an itty bitty girl, I loved what I saw in the mirror, and I loved playing dress up, and I loved grabbing a plastic sword. You know, I really was, in the beginning of times, a warrior princess.
Yeah.
And then I let the mirror and the camera and what the world said change my mind.
Yeah, well, you know, the whole thing about what the world says is that very, very few people even meet that worldly convention of beauty or whatever that is. And even those that do are still picking themselves apart. I mean, that's the really sad part about all of it, is that most people are not appreciating who God made them to be. You know,
Right.
if we're tall, then we're too tall. If we're short, then we're too short. Or it's our weight. It's something.
Yes.
And so that's part of what you're working on in your purpose and in this project Unbreakable, is to help us celebrate what God has given us.
Absolutely, is to basically the whole project. We do joke that it could be called "Don't Beat Yourself Up."
I love that.
It's about this idea of not being a sleeper in your life, not allowing just whatever decides to run through your brain be truth. Because like my life, if you let it stay there too long, it will become truth. It will stick, and that's really dangerous. And so if you're not on top of your relationship with God, with prayer, with asking these hard questions, what do I think of myself? Is it lining up biblically? God, what do you say about me? If we're not active in pursuing our purpose, our identity, our true beauty, and our true strength as warrior princesses or the warrior prince, we're missing out on so much that God offers us in this life. Yeah. And I don't want anyone to be asleep anymore.
No, and we don't want to be asleep anymore, do we? I mean, we want to be active. That's what God wants for us. He said life and life more abundantly, and I think we skip on that so many times because we just don't like what we see or whatever that is. So I want to thank you so much for coming today. It's been so good to have you. The name of the project is Unbreakable, and it's by Jennifer McGill, and I want you to follow her. She's got a book coming out very, very soon, and I know that I want to hear about all those stories of when she was on the Disney TV show. I want to hear about all of that and catch up with her and learn how she found her path and purpose with Christ. What of time we got to go. We say goodbye, and God bless you. The blood of Christ is the only cure. It gets down to the root of every single thing that ails us. There's not an addiction, there's not a generational curse, there's not any root of sin. There's nothing that the blood of Jesus cannot cleanse.
Visit monicaschmelter.com to schedule Monica to speak at your event.
Prayer changes things. If you need prayer, write to the address on the screen. Call 615-754-0039 or email prayer@ctntv.org.
Join the Bridges community on Facebook. Visit Facebook and search for Bridges with Monica. We would love to connect with you.
For more information on a guest, visit our website, ctntv.org.
If you would like to contact WHTN, you can write to the address on the screen or call us at 615-754-0039 or visit us on the web at www.ctntv.org.